I'm going to go through how to set up this table. Hopefully we get the right camera angles on this so you can see. And then I'm going to show you how to calibrate it. Okay, if we look right here, you see this? This is a factory set stop. You have one here and what we call the back of the table, and we have one here on the front of the table. So when I'm traditionally standing at a multifunction table, and I'm standing at the front, those stops are to my right. Follow me? Okay, so that allows me to put these two pieces on. All of this comes with the MFT3. This part here, you'll see where there's this steel key. There's two 5mm hex screws right here. Okay, I want you to pay attention to these, okay? There's this long black key that goes the long way to the stop. I'm going to show you how to put this on in a minute. And I want you to pay attention to this knob here, here, and also right here. Because I can tell you right now, through the course of being around the system for a few years, anytime somebody says, hey, I made a cut with my MFT3 and it doesn't hold its accuracy, it's one of these three knobs that does not get tightened properly. Okay, so let's go through it. I'm going to take this, and you're going to see where everybody, and here's one of the little misconceptions of the attachment point. Everybody thinks that when I take this little pad here, this little steel knuckle, locks at the top. That's how you anchor it to the to the table. It's not. You anchor it with this. That's that little knob I was showing you. So when I take this, and hopefully we can get in here, I'm going to slide that in just like this. I lift that knuckle off, and I'm going to put it right to that factory set stop. Now, really important to understand this. Don't go and measure it from here to here and measure it from there and there. They're not the same. Okay, those are set at the factory. I'm going to take this and lift it all the way up so I have access to these two screws, and I'm going to lock it down like that. Now, if I put a little bit of pressure on here, if that goes flying down, or this is too tight to lock in, you've got these two 5mm screws right here that I can adjust. And boy, it's just a little adjustment like this to make sure the tension is properly. But this is the knob I tighten first, then I lock it down. Okay. The next part is right over here. I'm going to swing this for the camera angle so you guys can come in here. There's my stop there. There's that long black key right there. It slides the long way to the stop, not the short way. I'm going to slide it in here like this. I'm going to bring it right over to the stop, and I'm going to tighten that knob first. Okay? And you're going to see this little pin on here. I'm going to lift that up. These two pieces are how the guide rail attaches to the table. And you're going to see these two holes right here. Okay? Those are drilled into our guide rails, so in all our guide rails, so you can hang them on the wall. But we use it as a reference point, and I want to show you why. Okay? I'm going to slide this on like this, and look, I'm going to put the pin in there. See how it doesn't move? Now, I could put it here, flush. I could put it all the way out here as long as the pin's in there. But what I like to teach people, and I'm going to show you why on the track saw, is we like to put it to the back half. Look right here. See up top, you see the plate? It's the back half of the hole, and there's a reason for that. When I tighten these screws underneath, these are 5mm screws, okay? The only one I really tighten is this one. I use the short arm here because I can get a little bit of torque on it. I don't kill it, I don't break it, but I put a little bit of torque on there. The next one, when I lift it up here, I use the long arm of the 5mm, so I don't put a lot of tension, and the only thing I'm doing is I'm snugging it. In other words, it's off the pin. You see? If I had taken this and used the short arm here and put torque on this, I turn everything a quarter turn past snap. If I would have put too much torque on there, your rail should go right down on the pin without a lot of movement to get it orientated on the pin. Okay? See this? Watch. When I set it down, it should go right on there. If I had put too much torque on that secondary screw, I would have been fighting it to move it over. You don't want any unnecessary tension on it. Okay, next I'm going to put this piece on, and the reason I break it apart, this is their angle unit. The reason I break it apart is I want you to see this knob. Okay, when I put this on here like this, I tighten it up. That V goes into the V groove. The next part is this, the protractor head or angle unit, and I slide it right in. You could put it here if you're cutting narrow pieces. You could put it all the way out here for wider pieces. But I put it right here and I lock it in. Now, when you open up the catalog or owner's manual, it says you're going to get a 27 and 9/16 crosscut capacity with the stuff that comes with it, the hardware that comes with it. You see this little hole right here? I want to give you a little overview of the track saw to show you why I did that. So I got the TSC here, and anytime I do any calibration with it, I always take the batteries off. Okay, so you probably know this about your track saw. When you first get your track saw, you got this on that rib right there, right? Okay? What you want to do is you want to calibrate the saw to the rail. And you see how I did this? Look, I tightened it and I slowly back them off. I grab it here to check to see that there's no lateral tolerance. Okay? No movement in there. You don't hear any sound, okay? But watch this. See right here? If I take one of those cams off, look, I lose my accuracy. So the reason I wanted to point this out is we get this cameraman, come in here, see this. You see how the splinter guard isn't cut all the way to the end? And look over here, it's not cut all the way forward. It's because I've never cut them all the way through unless I have connected rails. Follow me? So that's why we set the guide rail here to the back half of that hole, that plate, so you can get that 27 9/16 and the cams don't come off. If you go like this to cut all the way through, you could lose the accuracy. You lose your lineup if possible. And hopefully you're following it. So I'm going to take this and set it off to the side. And hopefully that explained it for you. Okay, that's why we tell people to set it up like that. Now, the next part of the jigsaw puzzle, as I call it, is this. This is the guide rail. Come in here so we can see this, cameraman. See these two little T's like this? I'm going to just tighten it. What that does is when I turn it, it tightens it in. So I'm going to take it, and when we set the rail, we don't put it perfectly even. We set it, and I'll explain why. We set it to the back half of the hole right there. And the reason for that is, if I set this perfectly even, yeah, I'm cutting with 90 with the track saw, but the beauty of the track saw is no matter if I'm cutting at 90 or anywhere between 0 and 47 on the TS55, guess what? It tilts on the same trunnion line. So if I take that, and if I left that like this, I would be cutting the aluminum bracket. Okay, you don't want to do that. So what you want to do is to eliminate that, you still have plenty of support. You put it to the back half of the first hole that's under the guide rail. I'm going to tighten it up. Now, right here, I have this knob tight, this knob's tight, but I want to show you this. See this pin? I have a breakaway. I have this part right here. See it? What's falling in these detents? It's this little conical brass pin. Okay? And that needs to seat at the very bottom of that detent. Okay? And you see how it's spring-loaded? Look, I could take that, watch. I could take it and turn it and defeat it and get it out of the way. So if I don't need the detent, I loosen this knob, follow? But if I want that detent, I can take it, and you see how it falls in? This is something I always do. I always press down because that spring over time will wear just slightly. Okay? Now, next part I want to put on is this. This is the repeatable stop. You'll see it over here and over here with the router. Say I got to do multiple dados or mortises, or I got to rip consecutive lengths for cabinetry. I can reset that. You can knock it out of the way. I see people set this up just like this all the time. Okay, where they take the long leg of this and go like this. That's cool, but that's not what it's for. Here's something you may or may not know. Do you know you don't have to necessarily have it in there? You got the secondary groove. You can flip it over and say you're cutting not taller stock, but multiple thicknesses. Hang right there, I'll show you. Look, that impedes the forward momentum of that 3/4, and I have the stop just like this. It slides in, and now I have that repeatable stop all the way down just like that. So hopefully that explained it for you. All right, let me get these out of the way. flip this back around, slide it in. I've only hit 3 people doing that. All right, I got my stop on just like this. Bam! All right. Got it? Okay. I'm going to take this. This is a deflector. Right? That goes right in here. I always chuckle at this because I used to call this when I first started with Festool. I used to call it the channel. Well, you know what it is you guys know this, and the older style hose, it was always ribbed, okay, and it always would catch on everything. Now with the new braided hose, there's less chance of it catching, but this is a channel for your cord and your hose to go in, so it doesn't have that catchy or that hesitation when you're cross-cutting. Okay, now we have it all set. I'm at 0. I'm locked into that detent. My fence is tight. All my knobs are tight. Watch this. See that right there? Hopefully that camera sees that. That's called deflection. Okay? It doesn't matter if the table moves, but boy, you put a long piece of plywood up there or hardwood, man, that's going to deflect. That's what this is for. Okay, this is the fence clamp, and you see this little, hopefully we can get that, see how that's got that little extrusion like this? It goes in here just like this. Follow? All right, good. But I gotta take this now and anchor it to the table, and that's what that V-groove is for. And this is what this lever's for. Okay, now I'm gonna slide that in like this. I'm going to put it right back in there. I'm not killing it. I'm not pressing it forward. And I'm going to lock it in. See? Now look, no deflection. And anytime I put wood up against here, a piece of plywood, I'm going to get a 90-degree cut because I'm in 0. All right, now, I have it set up against the stops. We calibrate these at the factory. But I'm going to bring it down like this. And remember this, all aluminum extrusion is extruded off an extruder parallel, okay? So with this fence here and this guide rail here, when I put the saw on here and knock out the lateral tolerance, I should get a 90-degree cut, okay? As long as this is at 90. Let me show you how to calibrate this. First thing you're gonna need is a good square, okay? And I always grab something like this that has a tall leg on there. Okay? Follow? Now, obviously when I bring it in, look, you see how it's not square? Just like that. Got it? Cool. So when I put the saw on there, guess what? It's not going to work. I'm not going to get a 90 degree. You'll see that in a couple of minutes when I make a cut with the track saw. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to loosen this. I'm going to make sure I'm in 0, and I'm going to knock the tension off of this. Okay, now this sometimes, it is so minute I can't see it. So what I want to do is I want to loosen these 2 screws. These are 5mm. Okay, I'm going to knock out the slop, the tension. Okay, and watch, look at the movement I have in there. See that? Now, my eyes aren't as good as they used to. I learned this from my buddy Les down in Indianapolis. He uses Post-it notes. He puts one in here and one in here, just like this. Look, see how that's tight and that's tight? Then I can go through the process of tightening this, just like this. Still tight, and guess what? Now, I've eliminated my eyesight out of it, and I know when I cut, that's going to be dead on. But don't believe me. Let's cut something. So I'm going to start it. You always start the saw up. You plunge, and you make the cut. And when you use, and this is the beauty of it. This is the beauty of the track saw. This is the beauty of the track. If we look in here, and hopefully this comes out on camera. Somebody asked me last night, what's your favorite tool at Festool? And it always will be the track saw because of this cut. There is no chip out at all. And that is and if we look right here, that veneer gets thinner every single week. Okay? So that's the setup of the MFT. This is a variable angle track saw square, if that's the right, it's an angle unit, but if that's the right way to describe it, you're going to notice here's your locking knob. This is how it locks. I'm going to show you how it goes on the rail. But in here, I want you to see these detents. Okay, because you have positive stops at all the popular angles. But I'm going to bring it into 0 like this, and I'm going to make sure it goes in that detent, and I'm going to lock it in. Whew, this is a fun one. I was so excited to use this. I'm going to slide it in like here. Okay, you're going to see this little T-nut. I'm going to take it and rotate it. Just like this. I'm going to bring it in, and I'm going to look in here. There's a little viewing windows or areas. Just bring it in there, up against there, and I'm going to take this, and that locks it, okay, because that's ground right in here to the rail. Now, what I always do is I chuck it up on the rail, because I have rails back here that I've taken and I've set down and this dinged, okay, and when I lock this on here, it canted a little. So what I always do is I move it up to a nice area and just verify if there's any dings in my rail here. All right, so it's that simple, all right? There's a lot of times I just take it up, I want a 90, I bring it here and make a cut, and you see how I'm holding it? But, of course, we always make adjustments, or see that little notch in there? I could take that, and you see how I put the clamp in here like that? I'm going to turn it over, and I can clamp that just like that. Chris, you getting that? Mm-hmm. Always viewing that. Good view? Good. And I can lock it in. Now, when I clamp it, I make sure it doesn't move off my material. And I'm just going to swing over here and grab my saw and make the cut. It's that simple. It really is. But I'll show you some other features on it in a moment. And there you go. But what if you want a 22-degree angle? I'm going to remove my clamp. Okay, I'm going to take this clamp off. I'm going to take it and I'm going to move it to 22.5, and I'm going to lock it in. Now, I'm going to take it like this. I'll bring it right where I want that cut. And sometimes that notch underneath on the fence doesn't align exactly, and it's tough to get this in. So what I like to do, and that's why we have these notches, whether I go this way or swing it this way, you'll see the scale swings both ways. I'm just going to lock it in, making sure my fence is up against there, and I can cut 22.5 wicked quick, just like this. And it's all locked in, nice and straight. So it's a variable angle rail clamp is the best way to describe that. So I'm going to just loosen it up, take my clamp off, and show you a couple more things on here because everybody wants to know what these are. I'm just going to bring it back to 0. The measurement here is, I believe, 12 millimeter. So I can actually take that and look, it sits right on top of your MFT, and it doesn't bottom out on your MFT if I'm cutting 3/4. Now these, I've seen a few people struggle with them. You just push them off like this, okay? And what these are for, follow me over here, Chris. What if I'm cutting a countertop or a tabletop that has a big radius on it? Come over here so you can see this beautiful particle board countertop here that I got the other day. All right, so this is why you have those dogs. Watch, if I'm going like this, it stands a chance. There's not enough fence on there. It rolls up. So I could take these dogs, as I call them, and I can slip them in this channel. What this does, it extends the length of this. So now I have it fully supported, and it's a really nice cut. Just take it like this, bring it in like this. You know what? I need to clean that up. I'm going to make the cut. There we go. What's the thickness of that? Oh, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. You know what? I'll just go for it here. Bring this over. I'll use the cordless on this. Bring it right in. See how those pods are right up against there? It's truly supported. Take it, make the cut. my depth wasn't perfect, so I can come back. That's the beauty of the track saw, I think. I could take that at a little more depth and just clean that up. Look at that. There's no deviation because that track saw cuts right on that line. To this day, I'm still amazed at a track saw. Okay, wow. Let's talk about the blades, back to blades. And then we'll talk about depth, we'll talk about angles, we'll talk about everything. Okay, so the blade that comes with it is this one right here. It's a 42 tooth alternating top bevel. And no matter how many times I teach this, people go, oh wow, I didn't know that. Yellow means for wood. So 42 tooth, and boy, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna make a rip in a minute. You're gonna go, man, I don't know. That thing is wicked smooth. If you're doing some hardwoods and you need a ripping blade, the yellow means it's for wood. Okay, that's I think it's a 14 tooth. Let me check. It's always labeled right here. Yep, 16 tooth. The Panther for the 60s is a 16 tooth, and this is a 28 tooth. That's universal blade, cross cutting and ripping. This is the one that comes with it. And then if you have red, that's your plastics blade. Look, blue, aluminum, this is your laminate plastics, and you can also use this for plastics and aluminum. These are triple chip grind. Always blue is the aluminum or non-ferrous metals, red plastics, laminate countertop. And then this one is green. That means it's a specialty blade. All of these here are carbide. This one is a polycrystalline diamond. There's 4 teeth. And it's for like Hattie board, you know, cementatious products, like concrete backer board and wonder board, all of that. And that works fantastic. Couple that with the system and dust extraction, whoo, it's a winner chicken dinner. On a traditional workbench, we've always worked with people who have built furniture, built cabinetry. We've always worked with holdfasts, okay? They go into the 3/4 or, of course, us, Festool 20 millimeter. They go in and usually knock them with a mallet and they hold down their spring steel and they tilt back. Well, this is a version of this. We call this a lever clamp, 20 millimeter pod. I stick it in here like this, but I put firm pressure here and lock it back. The nice thing, it's one-handed, so if I'm doing multiples, I just pull it like this. This comes out, I slide another one in, go like that. It's a quick lever clamp. That came out in a limited edition at one time. Everybody said you gotta put that in permanent stock, and we did. And I have a couple of here. This makes and expedites locking and clamping wicked quick. I slide it in, lock it in, and it's nice and secure. Good? Those are the hold lever clamps, or as I call them, the Festool hold fasts. Woo!